welcome to the 10 o'clock edition of SportsCenter. My name is Jordan Phil. Now to baseball. The Brewers took an early 1-0 lead with a Braun double in the first inning. The Diamondbacks struck tough though, with a grand slam in the bottom of the first by Roberts, followed by a solo shot by Young. The Brewers got one back in the second and the third, but once again, the Diamondbacks come back with 2 runs in the third inning. In the sixth, the Brewers got one run on a sacrifice fly by Corey Hug. Upton hit a home run in the bottom half of the sixth to make the game 8-4 Diamondbacks. In the seventh, Young hit a 2-run home run for his second of the game, making it a 6-run game. The Brewers got 2 runs in the eighth, but it wasn't enough to come back. Final, Brewers 6, Diamondbacks 10. The series is now tied at 2 games apiece. Game 5 is on Friday. Now, with a special report on baseball in the 1920s, here is Justin Ward.
Thanks, Jordan. Hello, I'm Justin Worrell, and welcome to an Outside the Lines special report on baseball in the 1920s. Baseball in the 1920s wasn't called the Golden Age for no reason. This was the decade which propelled baseball to get the name America's pastime. There were many reasons why this was baseball's golden age, but let's start with the radio. In the 1920s, the radio was first mass-produced, which let common families, especially those in the Midwest, listen to and follow baseball games. For the first time, baseball reached out to places where no teams were, which greatly increased the fan base. Another invention that happened in the 1920s was sports sections for newspapers. Newspapers now show the previous day's game every day in the section, and because America didn't have much other professional sports at the time, baseball dominated the newspapers. Also, a new stadium was built in the 1920s, like Fenway Park and Wrigley Field, coupled with star players and a more fan-friendly experience, had fans flock to the stadium en masse. Lower ticket prices, and most commonly, which were around 30 cents, let fans enjoy the game cheaply. This brought more money to baseball than ever before and set up the game to expand west. The biggest reason, though, the 1920s were baseball's golden age is the players and their home runs. Never before had baseball had the star power, but in the 1920s, players like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig reinvented how to hit a baseball. Now, for more on the star players of the 1920s, here's Joe Ayer.
Thanks, Justin. I'm Joe Ayer, and tonight I have the honor to introduce you to the top 5 baseball players of the 1920s. Starting with Babe Ruth. He was born on February 6, 1895 in Baltimore, Maryland. Over the course of his career, George Herman Ruth, more commonly known as Babe Ruth, broke baseball's most important batting records. His achievements included the most years leading a league in home runs, the most total bases in a season, and highest batting percentage for a season. In all, he hit 714 home runs. Born on April 27, 1896 in Winters, Texas, Rogers Hornsby was a great baseball player. Throughout the 1920s, Hornsby separated himself as one of the best right-handed hitters in baseball. He ended all the baseball seasons, like he did for 5 seasons, by winning the American League National League batting title. He also led the league in on-base percentage, hitting percentage, hits, doubles, total bases, and runs batted in. Lou Gehrig was born on June 19, 1903 in New York City, New York. He played in 2,130 consecutive games for the New York Yankees. This gained him the nickname Iron Horse for his durability. He was a first baseman and a great hitter, but in addition to that, he played with 4 other famous baseball players such as Babe Ruth and Joe DiMaggio. In the 1920s with the Yankees, he was chosen the league's most valuable player in 1927, but is best remembered for never missing a game in the 15 seasons he played, totaling 2,130 games in a row. And on March 24, 1893 in Manchester, Ohio, George Sisler was born. He is considered one of the best first basemen of his time, but is remembered mainly for his hitting ability. In 1920, he played every inning of 154 games, established a major league record with 257 hits, got 122 runs batted in, scored 137 runs, batted a batting average of 407, and stole 42 bases. 2 years later, Sisler had a 42-game hitting streak, having a batting average of 420 for the year, on his way to collecting the newly created American League MVP award. Not only was hitting his strong point, but he also led the American League in stolen bases 4 times. On August 3rd, 1894, in San Francisco, California, Harry Heumann was born. He was a line drive hitter. He gained the nickname Slug, and he won 4 American League batting crowns. He won the batting crowns in 1921, 1923, 1925, and 1927. He's one of the last 2 Americans to have a batting average of 400. Heumann accomplished, in 1923, a batting average of 403. Heumann's career batting average of 342 is the 12th highest in Major League history. Back to you, Justin.
Thanks, Joe. While there were many changes for fans in the 1920s, there were also many for the players. And for more on that, here's Noah Depew.
Thanks, Justin. We're here today at Willowwood Park to talk about some of the rules added to Major League Baseball in 1920, alongside the creation of the Negro Leagues. The first major rule was the addition of a cork added to the center of the ball. This allowed the ball to fly further, resulting in more home runs. Alongside this rule was the rule that all fences must be a minimum of 250 feet to make the game more fair. Another rule added was the elimination of all freak deliveries for the pitchers. This includes the spitball, which was very common. Another rule added to baseball was the official scoring of runs batted in, or more commonly known as RBIs. It is used to date for general managers to see who they would wish to trade or to not, but back in the 1920s, it was just a goal for players to strive for. The final rule that was added was excessive stealing in the 9th inning would not be counted if a game was lopsided mainly towards one team. So if one team was absolutely crushing the other team, the steals would not be counted in the 9th inning. Now on to the Negro Leagues. In December 19, 1922, the first official Negro League was formed. The Negro League was for minorities, mostly blacks, due to discrimination at the time. The first official Negro League consisted of the Eastern Color League and the National Negro League. In 1924, the first Negro World Series was played. This league lasted 5 seasons before collapsing in the summer of 1928, leading to the formation of the American Negro League. At the 2008 Major League Baseball draft, all surviving Negro League players were ceremonially placed onto a team to counter the discrimination they faced earlier in their lives. These Negro Leagues acted as a gateway for black players to enter into the MLB, starting with Jackie Robinson in 1942. Back to you.
Thanks, Noah. And thank you all for watching this special report on baseball in the 1920s. Have a great day, and now back to Sports Center.
Thanks, Justin, for that Outside the Lines special report on baseball in the 1920s. Coming up after the commercial break, the ALCS, NLCS Game 1 and Game 2 games, and the football frenzy over the weekend. Also, a special report on Cam Newton